James Adair again. We're ready for another episode of the Equity Accelerator podcast, and I'm super pleased to be joined today by a newer friend of mine, Christian Durso, and he is the president of the Portland chapter of a nonprofit called Society of Financial Awareness. He's also a financial advisor, chief investment officer, and chartered retirement planning counselor with a group in the Portland area called TradeWinds Wealth Management. So that's his day job, but we're here to really focus on his position as the president of this nonprofit Society of Financial Awareness. I am also a member of this nonprofit as well, and help Christian put on classes. But what this group is focused on is putting on classes for employee groups around financial literacy, around retirement planning, around estate planning, credit, debt, home buying, you name it. Christian, I'll let you take over and kind of paint the picture for what Society of Financial Awareness,
sure,
aka SOFA, gets up to.
We'll call it SOFA. That'll make it easier for the podcast. Thanks, James. Thanks, Chris, for having me here today. Happy to share about the great work that the organization is doing. The Society for Financial Awareness is a 25-year-old national nonprofit, started out of San Diego, and really born out of the need for financial literacy. Jim Chilton, the founder, recognized that there was no financial literacy classes being taught in high school or college. And, as the world gets more complex, especially the financial world, he strongly felt that there was a need for these types of financial literacy programs. And the idea is that if we can raise the education level of the community as a whole, then ultimately everybody benefits.
So Christian, I know you've been doing this for quite some time. I've only been involved for a few months now, but when did you start running this nonprofit in the Portland area?
I've been affiliated with them for coming up on 13 years now.
Wow.
So I got involved quite a while ago and was just really excited to fill the gap left by the outgoing president of the local chapter. And, on a personal note, I didn't grow up in a family with lots of financial resources and saw plenty of family members, make poor financial decisions that affected them later in life. And so the mission of the organization really resonated with me personally.
I find that financial literacy is such a function of the family you're from. If your parents are engaged in, paying attention to investing, having an investing sort of mentality, and having the confidence to just get up to speed on the language of investing and saving and retirement planning, all these things. If your parents are engaged in it, then you're going to be engaged in it. If your parents are not engaged, then it's really difficult to know where to begin. Sure.
And we're constantly inundated with messages about more ways that we can spend our money. We don't have a lot of messages coming in on ways, reasons to save or reminders to live within our means. And so it's more important than ever that people are proactively bringing those messages, into their household. Years ago, I was recommending, different books for individuals and couples to read. Nowadays I still recommend books, but more and more encouraging people to consume content like podcasts and websites that are promoting financial literacy, just so something else is showing up in the feed, besides some new product that we feel like we need to have.
So I have an Android phone. I don't have an iPhone. And on the Android phone, you open up your phone and it has all your apps and stuff. But if you swipe to the side, it just has this Google feed. It just has a feed of things that are happening that Google thinks you might click on. And so it's really interesting to see what my feed is like and what I tend to click on. And there's always a retirement link, a market watch. This person retired at 35. Like, what did he do? So I'm constantly responding to that kind of aggressive retirement, retirement internet. And I'm not like excited about retiring particularly, but I am interested in being effective and efficient and not being afraid to stop working, to wind down at some point, and to feel like I just ran out of resources. I don't know what to do next. Financial planning is really like, financial planning in my mind is, you know, a lot of people are intimidated by it because they think it's for rich people. They think it's for Wall Street people. But it's really, at its core, it's just like, what are you going to do? What's the plan? What are you going to do given what's happening in your life? What happens if you get sick? What happens if you get hurt? What happens if one of, what's the plan? I mean, you have to have some kind of plan. Even if it's not a great plan, it's still better than no plan. So it's just, that's all it is just giving it some thought and maybe writing it down. That's like the basic financial planning in my mind.
Yeah. And years ago, I mean, this started in the human resource community before the financial crisis, but it was really brought into focus during the financial crisis that members of the HR community recognize the toll that financial stress takes in the workplace on morale, productivity, retention. And so, you know, over the past decade, there really has been a push for businesses to be providing financial education as part of their benefits package. And so, you know, local businesses, national businesses that we've worked with are really excited about our program because there's no sales, there's no solicitation. We're coming in as a nonprofit there to provide free resources for the community. And it's really dovetailing well with the mission, you know, the benefits mission of corporations.
Did you mention, is there any kind of like requirement that certain companies of certain sizes have that need to be met that these programs kind of dovetail into?
We've been to huge national corporations, Fortune 500 companies, all the way down to the local county library, you know, with a few people in the audience.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone into churches, clubs, but primarily it's businesses that are bringing us in, doing brown bag lunch and learns. And, you know, we provide the speaker and the handouts and the educational content, and they just provide a space for us to do these talks.
What are the most popular seminars that you put on? I mean, is there 3 things that you do over and over again, or is there a pretty wide variety of the kind of classes you put on?
There is a wide variety. You know, we have dozens of talks, and what the organization focuses on is making sure that the speakers are professionals in their field. So, you know, mortgage professionals are doing the mortgage related talks, and
Mm-hmm.
finance professionals are doing the investment related talks. That way, you know, the HR folks or the people hosting these events know that the information that's being provided to their attendees is accurate and up to date. Certainly the personal finance talks, we have a really basic talk called Getting Fiscally Fit. It goes over, you know, the basic pillars of a sound financial strategy, cash flow management, an emergency fund, debt reduction, saving for retirement, and estate planning. That's one seminar? Yeah, those are the 5 things that we cover.
Dang.
The mortgage related talks, you know, very popular with interest rates being as low as they are. Estate planning, always popular, maybe unpleasant at times, but popular topic. And then the seminars related specifically to retirement, Social Security benefits, retirement income.
Mm-hmm.
Those always have strong attendance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. I think one of the key things that I wanted to highlight is that these are, like you said, very professional. We follow the rules given to us by SOFA and these are not sales events. And I know that if an HR professional is considering bringing one of our groups in to present, their fear is that we're just there to try to sign up clients or there to sell a particular product or something like that. And that is not what happens. It's very, very basic, informational, probably a lot of free flowing Q&A. People have a lot of questions. When I've done these in the past, and it's best when it's, you have a little handout, 6 or 7 slides, and then, 15, 20 minutes to really have questions. Because when someone asks a question, everyone else has got the same question. So that's where a lot of the value shows up, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, typical groups are, anywhere from 20 to 30 people. I've had groups as large as 100 and as small as 5.
Mm-hmm.
So we can work with organizations of all sizes.
Good point. Chris, you have something
Who are
to add?
the members of SOFA? Is it other financial people, or is it the community that is a member and they're coming to the association for education?
No, the professionals in the community choose to be a member.
Got it.
And, the organization is funded by member dues. So, I pay fees to the organization so that I can be affiliated with them. I get a tax deduction for those. And, also the benefit to me is I get increased visibility in the community.
Can anybody sign up to become a member, or is there an application process? How does that work?
There is an application process, and there's also a training that folks have to go through. The primary members of the organization are financial professionals, mortgage professionals, realtors, estate lawyers, and tax professionals.
Got it. Nice. Got it. Good.
Very good.
Our goal is to cover the full spectrum of personal finance. So many HR folks mentioned to us that they have their 401k person come in and do a talk. That's typically open enrollment, just signing people up, and then an asset allocation talk.
Right.
They're not covering all of the other aspects of personal finance and financial literacy that are really important. And so
Totally.
Our program is designed to dovetail and complement whatever talks their 401k provider is doing.
Nice.
I think that's a huge point. I can't tell you how many people I talk to on my side of the conversation when if we're doing a refinance and they're going to be saving $500 a month, I always say, well, now what? What are we going to do? It's great to save $500 a month, but what are you going to do with it? Who's your financial advisor? What's the plan, right? How can we make this even more meaningful, more powerful for having done this? And they'll say, oh, I do it myself, or, oh, my cousin is really good with finance, or, oh, I have this guy at work. I have a financial advisor. He's the guy at my 401k. And I'm always like, that's not enough, and it doesn't, I don't know why people don't engage with the financial planning process more confidently. I just feel like they don't understand how simple and powerful it is to engage in your own financial planning relationship outside of work. Or some people say, oh, there's this gal at my credit union who specializes in investments or something. I'm like, that's okay. That's good. I don't want to downplay how valuable that can be situationally, but really just having someone who knows what you're up to, who knows how many kids you have, who knows how old they are, and where the markers are going to be. Because it's all about timing. It's like, okay, when this happens, how much money is going to be available to fund it or part of it, right? And so I just think that these 401k people, which are important, and the asset allocation is really important, and 401ks, everyone should be maxing out their 401ks at a minimum. But that's still, I don't think, enough to have a confident retirement in most cases, unless you're much older and have
Yeah,
access to
there are a lot of there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle, and the way that our workshops are set up, there's two components to them that all fall under the umbrella of the nonprofit, and neither of these have any cost. The first is the workshop, and as I said, those typically last an hour,
right?
usually, at the work site. And then we also do a follow-up meeting with anyone that requests it, so a complimentary consultation. And in this meeting, there's still no sales, there's no solicitation, but it's a chance for folks to, get one-on-one questions answered that relate to their situation specifically. So, of course, we make time in the seminars to answer questions, but we can't always get to every question.
Right.
And often people don't want to raise their hand in front
Right.
of
There are some
coworkers
personal issues.
and ask the really hard questions.
Right.
So we offer that consultation. They have to opt in for it. And in that, the outcome is a personalized list of action items, things that they can work on their own to make improvements in their financial life.
Well, this lines up perfectly with my philosophy and what has really become my higher calling in the mortgage space, doing mortgages, doing transactions. It's fun and all, but it's so much more meaningful when you can really have a deeper conversation with people. And when you go through the mortgage process, you're unpacking so much financial information just to get approved that it's just, if you just take a snapshot of all this stuff and then get the loan and move on, it's just such a missed opportunity to ask two more questions to that person. Now what do we, now I can see all these things, do you have a financial advisor that's helping you put this all together? Right. I'm just one little moment on the, on the side of the road that this huge path you're on. So it's important to have advisors in your life to that this is all we think about. Even your cousin who's really smart about things, they're not, a chartered retirement planning counselor, right? It's a huge difference to have people who are experts, give you advice at the right time. And these financial issues do take people's eyes off the ball when they have a parent who they need to move into a home. How much time do you think they're devoting at work to organizing that with their siblings? If they have a parent that has a house they need to sell, that's I'm getting into my middle age zone. My parents are pretty healthy right now, but they're starting to talk about going to assisted living. That's really the next, thing that's going to really start taking up space in my mind, that will certainly impact productivity. So I think that's a huge value add for these employee groups to support their teammates, their team members, through all these things that happen to all of us, and to have local vetted professionals come in and, answer that question for that one or two people who are really dealing with something heavy and don't know exactly where to turn. This can be a huge component of their productivity. It can be a huge component of their cementing that relationship with the employer. As I love working here because they really care about me. And so that's what we're trying to establish through our passion for financial education.
Christian, I imagine there are two kinds of people listening to this today. There's people who are interested in the services of SOFA and want to learn more about any classes they could bring into their company or classes that they could find and attend. How do people listening to this that fit that category find out more about SOFA?
Yeah, so SOFA has a website. That's the best way to learn a little bit more about the organization, and it's just sofausa.org.
Okay.
And on there is a list of chapters around the country. Most of the major metropolitan areas have one or more chapters with multiple speakers. And there's also a list of topics on there that folks can review to see which seminars might make sense for their organization.
Perfect. The second group I was thinking of are people who are in the financial space who actually would want to become member, whether it's locally or if you're listening to this in some other part of the world and you want to find a SOFA chapter near you. Like, is that on the same website, or how do people?
Same website, sofausa.org.
Got it. Perfect.
Awesome.
Good stuff. This feels like a really important mission. I think I agree with your statement about there's a lot of information and content coming in our news feeds. And there just needs to be more that is good input on financial intelligence. So awesome stuff. Love it.
Christian, before we go, is there one book that you like to recommend to people that are just like, I do want to engage with this, but I don't know where to begin? Is there like a simple, like, beginner's guide that you think is really well done?
Sure. For folks who feel like they've made a little bit of a mess and are trying to clean it up, Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, outlines 6 simple steps to to wrest control back of personal finances. And then I like the content by David Bach. He writes The Automatic Millionaire. That's a great book. And also Smart Couples Finish Rich.
Love it. I love those recommendations. The one my favorite is one, it's actually out of print, which is a bummer, but you can still find it on Amazon in the used section. And it's by Nick Murray. It's called Simple Wealth, Inevitable Wealth.
Yeah, that's a great book.
And I just love how he explains, like, it's basically like, here's what a stock is, here's what a bond is, here's why they're important. And it's just so clearly written, and it's like inspirational. And it's not long, it's not hard to read. And once you're done reading it, you're just like pumped. You're pumped up to invest because you feel like you have this formula that's so simple, and it's not about stock picking. It's not about timing. It's like the opposite of all that stuff. And I love how he makes fun of CNBC all the time. I like to watch CNBC, but I know that it's not really how investing works. CNBC is television for Wall Street traders, basically.
Yeah, and the news outlets know that we all, as humans, experience confirmation bias. And so, if you go to your favorite financial news site on any given day, there'll be a bunch of articles saying why everything's about to fall apart, and a whole bunch of articles about why now's the best time to buy. So, they're playing both sides of the fence. Totally. and obviously can't give specific advice to individuals.
Right. Christian, if people want to reach out to you and learn more about what you do professionally, how do people connect with you?
Yeah, so on the SOFA side, my email address they can use is cdurso, CDURSO @sofausa.org. And then in my private practice, it's just Christian@TradeWindsWM.com.
Perfect. Really great. It's great having on your show. James, if people want to reach out to you about your unique approach to mortgage, I've always said this about you, but I love that you take this financial perspective into the mortgage business. And it's not just about getting a loan and a good rate. It's about a bigger conversation. If people want to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Well, you can always find me at my website, which is just pdxhomeloan.com. And if you want to email me, it's just james@pdxhomeloan.com. So happy to have this conversation with anyone who wants to reach out. I am licensed in the state of Oregon, the state of Washington, but otherwise we can just chat.
Love it. It's really great. Good
Christian,
stuff today,
thanks.
gentlemen.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks, James.